Hello and welcome to episode 640 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan. I am one of the co-founders here at ETR. We're coming off of a living in a sim kind of week. Yes, that's right. I've been meaning to come on here and give a more nuanced take about simulations and DFS. Been way too much going on, but I figured today was a good time to do it, considering I did not play Jamar Chase in cash on Sunday and therefore have lost my will to live. So let me start with this. Personally, for me, I wish there were no projections. I wish there were no optimizers. I wish there were no sims. I wish we could go back to the days where all we had was box scores and reading newspapers and watching some games. I think that would be an ideal setup for me personally in terms of winning the most money I could in DFS. But there's just no point to even think about it or wish for it or long for it, because when there's big money on the line, very, very, very smart people are going to be grinding their cocks to figure out ways to win. And in DFS, there's certainly big money on the line. I mean, it's really insane. If I wanted to get 500K out there on an NFL main slate alone, could do that no problem. Could probably get way more out there, actually. I have no idea. I know there's people winning seven figures a year on insane volume, but still. And so the evolution of games when there's money on the line is for people to try to find the actual right answer. Chess programs were developed to spit out the right answer for all these spots. Poker solvers were developed to spit out the right answers. I'm sure, just like in DFS, a lot of people in chess and poker revolted against this. Get this nerd shit out of here. This is about ball, not computers. You're taking the fun out of the game, et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, I totally get that take. I am extremely empathetic to that take. Deep down, well, actually at the surface, I have that take too, as I just said. But I also understand that it's not a realistic take to have if you're playing seriously. Like, for me, I'm playing seriously for what I consider real money. I think I have a responsibility to myself, to my family, to try to get better. And so, yes, there is no doubt that using the best projections, using optimizer, using sims can help me get better. In no way does it mean that I have to use any of these things to win, but the idea is that it can incrementally help. I do think that there is a massive misconception out there on how all these tools stuff, such as sims, interacts with quote unquote knowing ball. I think people believe that the projection model or the optimizer or the simulations just spit out the right answer, the answer to the test, and it's a print fest. I think it's important to back out and understand what's going on. These tools are absolutely worthless without ball knowers. These tools take people who know ball knowledge and help us apply that in a more optimal way. We have a team of 3 full-timers plus around 10 of us total working on projections each week to make sure they're as strong as they can be. That's all on ball knowing stuff. We have another 3 to 5 of us working on ownership projections every week. So if you don't understand the ball stuff, like, with Amon-Ra St. Brown out, this is how likely Josh Reynolds or Khalif Raymond will be used. And where will they be used? And how often? The Rams are facing the Eagles this week. Let's be sure we bump the Rams pass rate in this spot. They have no chance of running the ball against the Eagles. Cooper Kupp is back. We can see what's going to happen with Devon Achane. Let's project him slightly ahead of Raheem Mostert for the workload in week 5. There's also a ton of other stuff to digest about knowing ball. Like, think about all the bad reporting we've gotten lately. I can't remember it all, but like the one that comes to my head is Ezekiel Elliott's going to play ahead of Ramondre Stevenson. I think that was week 3 or week 4. Completely ridiculous. We've gotten all kinds of things like X guy will be on a snap count that proved not to be true. There were reports that Marvin Mims was going to be the wide receiver 3 after what they saw in practice. There's all kinds of these reports. To me, the biggest edge is in digesting these situations, like the injury stuff I just talked about or the changing role stuff, and also digesting the news reporting stuff. How you interpret and digest those situations, to me, is a way bigger edge. We're talking huge percentages of win probability, way more than any of these other tools can give you. And that, all that other stuff, all the sims and stuff. That doesn't even include the models and algorithms that we've developed, led by Leone to take this ball knowing and adjust it. So we think that Devon A-Chain was going to get 58, 60% of the carries last week. But how many total carries should Miami project for in this spot, given team tendencies, opponent, pace of game, zillion other things? So all that stuff is baked into the projection. And that's, just like the tip of the iceberg, all this stuff. We work on literally dozens of those situations every week. My point of all this is just, if you don't know ball or pay someone or pay us to know ball, every tool or sim is just total dust. So I really revolt against the idea that this stuff is ruining X because you don't have to know ball. You do have to know ball. Now, a couple other things I'd say about the sims. They are, very sensitive or somewhat sensitive to projections and projected ownership on field lineups. They are also biased to the projections that you use. Again, that comes back to knowing ball. And for me personally, I'm certain I'm not using the sims to their full potential. The way I've started to play around with it is to test lineups against each other. Should I go to a Tagovailoa double in this lineup, in this contest, or should I go to a single? If I go to a double, should I have a Giants player in my lineup also? Can I use Jared Goff with 3 other Lions and be profitable? Can I play this defense projected to be owned at 35% in this lineup, in this contest? So just testing that stuff has, I think, helped. And I'm also just seeing some conceptual benefits at a higher level because the simulations are able to evaluate your lineup in terms of not just individual plays or not individual plays at all, but in terms of the whole lineup and how it interacts with the field. So 40% Bills defense against the Commanders with, X lineup around it might be negative ROI, but change a couple of plays in the lineup and Bills defense, even at 40%, might be a positive ROI. But anyways, I'd say the biggest thing that Sims has shown me is that hashtag team play the best plays is actually good. Maybe not as much the last couple of years, but before that, I was undoubtedly playing way too wild in tournaments, way too contrarian. And what our Sims have shown me is that it's actually right to play the best plays, but just have to do it in a smart way. Anyway, I don't really want to get any deeper here. I know a ton of people just are immediately turned off by that stuff, don't want to hear it. I totally get that. I just want to make 2 things very clear. First, I firmly believe people can win without using Sims, especially people game selecting right, people playing single entry 3 max more, people playing who have a really good understanding of roster construction and upside. If you think ball better than us, better than the projections, there's a massive edge in that. Like if we have Jacoby Myers for 21% of the targets and you think he's going to get 33% of the targets tonight, and you're right, I mean, that is the biggest edge you will find in DFS. Yeah. Anyways, if you want to play around with any of the sim stuff, please check out the link in the notes on this show or on the subscribe tab on the site. You're just going to use the link to the solver. Be sure if you do sign up, you use your ETR email. Again, I think people are petrified and scared and revolt against this when it's not necessarily as big a deal as it seems. I hope that helps. Anyways, as for DFS in week 5, I'm going to keep this real short. One of the most tilting and frustrating weeks I've had in a long time. In cash, I did a bunch of things I never do, like pay up for tight end when we had Jonnu and Pitts available to us. Didn't play the guy that we had as the best value on the slate at wide receiver in Jamar Chase, number 1 in top plays. For whatever reason, didn't play him. Had Anthony Richardson, Justin Jefferson, Travis Kelce all get hurt. Had Tyler Boyd touchdown get called back by what I thought was a weak call. But yeah, I went, I know better on some stuff, and turns out I didn't. I know better, and yeah, got torched. It happens. But that wasn't even the most tilting thing. The most tilting thing was that if Jamar Chase gets a normal score, like 20 or 25 points, I think I would have won the $250 buy-in tournament on DraftKings, and Leone, I believe, would have won the Thunderdome. I finished 20th without Jamar Chase, played the Tua, Tyreek, Raheem Mostert stack with no Giant, no bring back. I was in 8th heading into the 4:00 game, still had 3 guys left. And this is one of those spots where you have to decide what to do. I had a contrarian 3 left, but I was in 8th heading to the 4:00 games. and I already had a bunch of guys go off. Obviously, the Tua stack plus Saints defense, Reynolds, David Montgomery. I decided in this spot, it was close. I decided in this spot to go and swap to the best plays. So I swapped to Brees, Hall, Zach Ertz, and Marquise Brown, who all perform well. So yeah, Jamar Chase ruined that sweat as well, though, going off for 55 points. But look, I think anyone who gets it, anyone who understands what's going on, just can't get too down when Jamar Chase goes for 55 and you don't have him. Can't get too high when Christian McCaffrey goes for 50 and you do have him, Just have to be soulless and emotionless, which is obviously horrible for real life, but good for skill-based gambling. All right. I want to get to listener questions, but before I do, the NBA. Well, let me say on the NBA, I still can't believe the NBA starts in 14 days. Like, I love the NBA. I used to follow the NBA incredibly close. Basketball is my favorite sport. I think the best team sport. It's awesome. But starting the season in October in the heat of NFL is just so brutal. I wish NBA started Christmas or New Year's and went deep into the summer. Would be so awesome, but whatever. Anyways, Dink, Gallagher, the whole NBA team, been grinding, getting ready for the season. Draft kit is up now if you have a season-long draft coming up. Also, if you plan to play DFS, NBA DFS, the bundle is live. More on props coming soon. Check all that out in the NBA tab on the site. All right, enough is enough. Let's get to everyone's favorite portion of the program, the listener questions. Producer Luke, hit the theme music. All right, appreciate the questions from everyone here today. Clearing out what I had for some older questions. Today, I will be asking for new questions probably on Monday of next week. Keep an eye out for that on Twitter at Adam Levitan. Going to do 6 of them today. Question 1 from Lee. He says, I love ETR and supporting you, but I can't bring myself to wear an ETR shirt in public. Can you imagine a girl walking up to you and asking what ETR means? Hey girl, it's a fantasy football site. Can I buy you a drink? No thanks, loser. Thoughts? Yeah, well, Lee, I wouldn't launch right into I'm part of this really niche community where me and my like-minded peers, we try to figure out the best ways to win in fantasy football. If she's cool or into you, she might say, oh, that's cool. When can I meet your friends that you're talking about, your like-minded peers? At which point you'd have to say, well, I've actually never met anyone in real life. This is kind of an internet thing. And that's just screaming hashtag team no sex. I don't know anything anymore about what's cool or never did, but my sense is that in the right setting, I'm thinking like hipster bar, you got people in there with their Emmanuel Mudiay jersey on and mustaches and bell-bottom jeans that make them look like an extra from the reflecting pool scene in Forrest Gump. In those settings, no one's going to question you with your ETR shirt on. And if they do, you can just say, oh, it's a website about football that my friend started. I give you permission to say that. So I will say that people send me pictures of themselves or randoms all the time in the wild wearing ETR gear. Pretty surreal, man. I mean, we make $0 off of any of the merch. I know you guys probably don't believe me, but we don't. But it's just cool to have people out there wearing it. Definitely cool. Question 2 from Carrie says, what is your game watching setup? I'm a red zone guy on the TV with a game on the laptop screen as well. Yeah, I get this question a lot. People are like fascinated by my Sunday viewing setup. I think people expect me to have some home theater with surround sound and stadium seating and 10 TVs to watch every play of every game and mermaids fanning me while I eat grapes off the vine, which is absurd. I'm a simple man. I love my Honda Pilot. I love my clothes from the Nike outlet. Fucking hate playing golf. I love having 2 computers and 2 mice. So on Sundays, I keep it simple like I do in all of my life. I have 3 screens. One is on Red Zone. One is an ESPN.com scoreboard that auto updates the play-by-play. And then either a game or my highest stake stuff I'm sweating on another screen. Nothing fancy. Question 3 from Mud Dungus says, do you watch professional tennis and have you ever attended a Grand Slam? Why or why not? If yes, which player's style and skill set most closely resembles your own game? Oh yeah, Mudungus. I watch a ton of tennis. I do a ton of stuff that's probably negative EV, but the only thing I knowingly do that's negative EV is bet on tennis. Like, I love watching the matches. I know nothing. I look at no data. I do no research. I just fire in some stuff from my gut, like a real phone shitter, bro, based on what I think about players or how I think their games match up. And I'm sure I haven't looked at it, but I'm sure I'm down a ton doing that. So yeah, I do like it though. And honestly, Mudungus, I gotta say, there's something oddly fascinating, not fascinating. There's something oddly satisfying about what I just described. Like, there's part of me that wishes I could do what I just described with tennis betting all the time. Literally, just trying to have fun with this stuff instead of grinding my cock down to 1.9 inches, fully erect, and stressing so hard about it, you know? Grand Slams, yeah, bucket list item is to attend all 4 Grand Slams. Only been to the US Open. I need to get to the rest ASAP. Did go to Indian Wells last year, which to me is the 5th Grand Slam, was an awesome, awesome trip. You asked what player's game most resembles my own. I mean, it doesn't exist. These guys are just on a completely different level, and I'm fucking terrible. Like, I think I can beat some real USTA 4.5s right now with just more heart, better mental game, you know, competing harder than anyone you've ever seen compete in your entire life. But in reality, I'm not that good, you know? So I don't know. I feel like that's the way people described Andy Murray's game a lot. You know, a lot of heart, not that good. Just find a way. So I'll go with Andy Murray. Question 4 from Cameron says, what are your top 5 movies of all time? I know your motto is no excuses, play like a champion. So I assume Wedding Crashers is in there somewhere. Yeah, I didn't even really love Wedding Crashers, to be honest. And no, Cameron, I don't take that line as a joke. You know, no excuses, play like a champion. It's a lifestyle. You know, it's nothing to laugh about. Anyways, top 5 movies of all time. I'm sure I've answered this on here before. It's always changing. I'll go like this. And by the way, of course I could say actually good movies like Lebowski, Godfather, Shawshank, The Sting, Braveheart, but you know, that's so boring. I'll spare you guys that. So anyways, top 5 movies of all time. Number 5, How High. Incredible performances from both Redman and Method Man. Just such an absurd idea for a movie. So creatively well done. 2 fun-loving stoners smoke their way into Harvard and ruffle the feathers of the stiffs. I mean, it's really, truly hilarious. Number 4, I'll go with Knocked Up. Obviously, I love all of the Judd Apatow style comedies, Seth Rogen style comedies, Superbad, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up. They're just the best. You know, I would call it a tie between those 3. Just unreal. They don't make comedies like that anymore, sadly. You know, the world has gotten too uptight, but yeah, love those. Number 3, Alpha Dog, obviously one of the seminal films of our generation. Justin Timberlake delivers a true tour de force as some wannabe drug dealer, gangster type who gets into a mess, kidnaps a kid. I think based on a true story too. 2, I'll go with Boyhood. I mean, just so much respect for the concept and effort here from Richard Linklater. I love the director. I mean, he did Dazed and Confused. Also, obviously, they filmed Boyhood for 12 years, you know, start when this kid is real young, I think 5 or so, and they don't have some big plan for the movie. Just go through life until the kid leaves for college. Yeah, just really, really good and unique. Number 1, I'll go back to Marley and Me. I know I just talked about this on here, but Marley and Me, I'm not going to talk about the actual movie as I'll break down emotionally. It's really pathetic, but yeah, never has a movie hit so close to home for me than Marley and Me. All right, question 5. Oh, this was one that I found while looking through some old questions from the very end of last year. It's from Mike. He says, hey, Lev, ahead of the final solo pod, I just want to thank you for all the NFL content this season. Don't ever underestimate the impact ETR content has on people. Truly a light in my life. So I didn't want to answer this comment to circle jerk ourselves or navel gaze or whatever it's called. I really just wanted to remind myself and anyone out there in a similar position that not everyone is a cutthroat grinder listening to this stuff or going to ETR strictly for money. A ton of people really just enjoy fantasy. You know, they like to laugh. They take fantasy football seriously, but they also like to have fun with it. And so, yeah, believe me, there are a ton of times I sit and think to myself, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Football, in the grand scheme of things, football doesn't fucking matter. It's a stupid game where these guys are putting their bodies on the line for us to have something to bet on. Am I really going to go through my entire life, not contributing anything to society? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a teacher. I'm not in the military. I barely leave my fucking house. But that's why Mike's note had such an impact on me. Just knowing people out there that have shitty situations on certain days, weeks, months, even their entire life, they're in a shitty situation. And we are just like some outlet, some form of entertainment for this hobby that we all love. I think just trying to reframe it that way goes a long way. So thank you, Mike, for the note. Really, really appreciate it. All right. Last question we're going to do today. Question 6 from Hunter the Hungry. He says, will you please address the discovery that Peter gets BJs whenever he wants? All right. So Hunter is referring to a tweet from a couple months back from Ashley Jennings, former guest of the podcast, amazing person, truly hilarious, and of course, wife of the legend himself, Peter Jennings, aka CSU Ram 88. During one of Ashley's many tirades against Peter on Twitter, somewhere in the replies, she was talking about what a great life Peter has, listed a bunch of things, golf, all, whatever. And on this list of great things of why Peter has such a great life, she also listed gets BJs whenever he wants. Obviously, I was floored, shocked, flabbergasted, envious, incredulous over this revelation. My first instinct was to have the forensic accounting team here at Gender Labs LLC, aka Gender Consultants, drop everything they were doing and investigate. And what they found was this is simply not true. Simply not true. When historians study this era, it will be defined by fake news. And this will be Exhibit A. And honestly, Hunter, we didn't really need an investigation to define this revelation as fake news, did we? Married guy getting quote unquote BJs whenever he wants, as the quote went, simply doesn't exist. All right. Thanks for tuning in to this week's solo pod. Appreciate you all. Stay tuned to this pod feed as it does get crowded in the middle of the week here. Waivers show coming up, team by team, rest of season, top 150, and maybe more, all coming real soon. For producer Luke, for Jerry, the most beautiful beast in the world, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.